I'm in the temperate rainforests of beautiful British Columbia, Canada, and these are some of the biggest trees I've ever seen.
For countless centuries, wood from the forests shared with mankind his struggle to scratch a living from the earth to produce clothing and shelter. Man took these blessings of the forest, gave nothing in return. Then the forest was no more.
The Canadian Rockies are known for all sorts of things. Incredible nature, beautiful mountains, but the thing that caught me the most off guard when I visited recently was the size of some of the trees. We went to the giant Cedars boardwalk, tucked just off the highway in the middle of Mount Revelstoke National Park. And despite the name of the trail, I wasn't ready for what we were about to see. See, I grew up in woods like these, surrounded by trees on all sides, some big, some small, but woods like these are what are considered new growth. This area was logged heavily in the 1800s, and consequently, the trees haven't had the chance to grow long enough to reach the same level of development as we see in BC.
Forests like the one surrounding the giant Cedars Trail are incredibly important for ecology and conservation. But even amongst old growth forests, these trees are massive.
So what's going on in BC? Some of the trees out there are literally the same size as apartment buildings. For me, seeing plants that large felt like it shouldn't be possible. So how is it? What is it that's different about the trees in BC that allows them to get that large? So when I looked into it, I found there are a few factors that actually make the difference. First are genetics. The trees out here are Western red cedar. These trees, being Western red cedar, are predisposed to be big. But perhaps more interestingly is the climate.
If you've ever seen a tree chopped down, you've definitely seen growth rings. Growing up, most people are taught that these rings indicate how old the tree was when it was chopped down. That by counting the rings, you can count the number of years that the tree was alive. But that's not the only thing they tell us. The trick is in the name, growth rings. They literally represent the growth periods of a tree. You end up having these different bands of rings where the dark segments indicate the slower growth that happens during the winter, whereas the light segments indicate the faster growth that's happening during the summer, the wider segments. Because the trees have more access to light, have more access to water, more access to nutrients, we end up having these repeating patterns throughout the inside of the wood that tell us how many years, how many cycles of the summer-winter cycle the tree was alive. What's notable about the trees in the giant cedar region, as opposed to the rings in the region where I grew up, where I'm filming right now, is that they're much wider, they're much further apart than trees around me. And to find out why, we need to take a look and talk about the Amazon rainforest.
This is the Amazon rainforest. Filled with countless species and absolutely teeming with life, it has maybe the most perfect conditions for tree growth on the planet. So, with such conditions, trees can often grow year-round, resulting in cross-sections that look like this. A whole tree trunk with little to no discernible rings, where ideal growth conditions never cease and water is consistently abundant. This takes us back to the giant cedars. These trees occur in a region which is called a temperate rainforest. Much like its tropical cousin, the temperate rainforest sees ideal growth conditions for most of the year, with an abundance of water to aid in growth, essentially supercharging the trees. They still see yearly rings when winter slows growth, but the excellent conditions during the summertime results in much more yearly growth.
But why do these conditions even exist? I mean, it makes sense that having access to extra nutrients, more access to water, allows the trees to grow taller than most buildings. But why is there a rainforest in Canada?
If we take a look at the precipitation map for the region, we'll see a couple of things. First, along the coast, a massive wet area, followed by this dry band, then another wet band in the region of giant cedars, and finally, a large dry area extending out to the east. The coastal wet area makes logical sense. All the evaporation from the nearby ocean factors into heavy rainfall in the region. On the opposite side, all this dry area inland also makes sense. Far away from any major bodies of water, there simply isn't enough moisture to result in heavy rainfall. These two bands of wet and dry are both caused by the literal shape of the earth: mountains. British Columbia is defined by its mountains. Its two ranges, the coastal and Rockies, play a massive role in the weather of the province. Much like the trees along their slopes, these mountains are massive, imposing, and literally change the weather. First, the dry band, which is caused by something called a rain shadow. Basically, as the wind attempts to carry moisture, the mountains act as a wall, preventing moisture from crossing, resulting in a dry area opposite the mountains.
But that water has to go somewhere, and that's where these rainforests come from. As the winds push moisture-rich air up the sides of the mountain, it cools, condensing into raindrops, and then coming down as rain, increasing the relative wetness of the area in which it falls. Then, with more water comes more potential for growth, leading to these massive giants.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We try and put out new videos every single week, so stay tuned very soon for the next.